Hello everybody, and welcome back to the newest episode in my series where I build my favorite items from movies, video games, and TV shows. This month, for the recent release of Hogwarts Legacy, I'm going to build 2 more wands from the Harry Potter series, that being the wands of Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger. This is DIY Prop Culture Builds. I've done a few of these videos in the past where I build wand replicas from Harry Potter, but with how easy and fun they are to do, I'm honestly shocked that I've only done 4. We're going to change that today. In the books, we get a great description of the wands that Ron and Hermione carry. Ron's is supposedly made of willow wood and 14 inches long with a unicorn hair core, while Hermione's is just shy of 11 inches, made of vine wood and with a dragon heartstring core. When adapting the 3rd book into the film Prisoner of Azkaban, director Alfonso Cuarón had an aesthetic theme of sorts that he was going for that was a big departure from the other 2 films. This meant that the props team were tasked with redesigning many aspects of the film for its new look, and one of these visual overhauls was the wands. As part of the rework, Ron and Hermione were given wands with updated designs that seem to take some inspiration from their book counterparts, but don't follow their descriptions exactly. These 2 takes are great examples of movie design that references aspects of the book that may have been far harder to faithfully adapt while still making visually appealing. To make these wands in the way I did today, you'll need to get a 1/2-inch wooden dowel, some modeling clay, a knife to whittle with, sandpaper, Mod Podge, and an assortment of wood-toned paints that I'll talk about more in detail when I show you each individual process. Starting off in no particular order, here is the wand of Ron Weasley. It is notable that this is one of the few wands in the series that has a consistent length from page to screen, and quite honestly may be the most accurate movie depiction of any of the wands in the entire series. So cut your wooden dowel so that it is 14 inches long and whittle it at a taper so that the handle end will stay at 1/2 inch in diameter, but so that the tip will be thinner than 1/4 inch. As you carve this wand, heed mind to its appearance. Towards the handle end, after about halfway from the point, the edges of the wand begin to square off and have 4 notable faces. These faces appear to have dents and scratches carved into them to give the wand a rough and more worn appearance. I opted to carve these directly into the wood, but if you wanted, I'm sure there's no reason that you can't just model these out of clay. Speaking of which, it's time to bust out the modeling clay. About 3.5 inches from the bottom of the handle side of Ron's wand, there is what appears to be a tree bark knob that widens out to about 1.3 inches all round. The handle of the knob is not only a rough and natural looking texture, but on the side that attaches to the wand shaft, it is slanted at about 30 to 45 degrees. On the bottom of this knob is what appears to be a collection of pinprick holes in the wood grain. Once the handle knob is dry, go ahead and sand the surface of the wand to get rid of any unwanted scratches or debris, and make the surface smoother for painting. To paint this wand, I gave it a base coat of black paint to give it a darker hue going forward, as this wand is far darker than Hermione's will be. I used 3 different paint shades to give this wand the look that I wanted it to have, and I used a brand called Apple Barrel Acrylic Paints, simply because you can find them for 50 cents a pop. Of course, any other brand of acrylic paints will work. The names on yours will just differ from the ones that I used. For the undercoat, I mixed 3 parts melted chocolate bar color, 2 black and 1 orange, just to give it a slight warm look. Once the whole wand was painted this color, I used the same melted chocolate color with 1 part black, 1 white, 1 light mocha, and 1 green to give it a slightly off tinge, as the knob has a drier, less vibrant color than the rest of the wand. Keep in mind that you want some of the darker tones to show through in the grooves and the holes and the natural looking wooden texture. The final addition on this wand are the highlight tones. And for that, I used a mixture of 3 parts chocolate brown, 1 barnyard red, and 1 orange. And this mixture I very lightly brushed on as to keep most of the darker tones showing. I mainly brushed this over the tip and around the chips that give it a more broken appearance. Remember, with the highlight part of the painting process, the lighter the better. Once that was all done, I took out my Mod Podge and gave it a few coats over the course of a day to give the wand a shiny wood polish finish. The other wand that I made for today is Hermione's, and for this one you'll want to cut it at 15 inches to match its movie length. Carve it at a steeper taper than Ron's wand, as you want it to go from 1/2 inch at the handle side to just over 1/4 inch at the tip. Keep in mind that Hermione's wand is not as broken down as Ron's is, so the smoothness on its surface is paramount. If you run into any trouble getting the surface as uniform as possible, feel free to sand down any stubborn splinters and or fill in any missing gashes with clay. Using wood as low quality as a dowel, you're bound to run into some grain issues that will make the wood very hard to carve. Once the wand is tapered to your liking, it is time for the hard part of the build, the vine pattern. To do this, I took the modeling clay and rolled it out thin until it formed a long tube that was no wider than 1/8 inch. And then after tracing out the pattern on the wand with a marker, I used some water to adhere the thin strands to the wood. I left space for the branching vines and the leaves that I added after letting this part dry. Be very patient with this part of the build, as the very intricate patterns make this one of the most challenging ones to do. Don't give up, you might have to do this a couple of times like I did. Make sure these vines are pushed flat so that they still have a raised appearance, but so that they cling close to the wood. Once they are dried, I used the same method to add the dead end vine paths, and used these small discs of clay cut to shape after I adhered them to the surface to create the leaves. Once this is dry and you've sanded down the clay for any imperfections, it's time to paint. For this wand's base coat, I used a straight layer of light mocha paint, as this wand has a brighter base tone than Ron's does. After that was dry, I used 2 parts light mocha, 2 equal parts 1 melted chocolate, bright yellow, and lime tree green to get a color that was more green in tone than Ron's is, as Hermione's wand looks more like living wood. After that coat was down, I mixed those same colors together. With 1 part black, I painted over the entire wand again, but this time brushed the darker tone away from the raised vines. Then I repeated this process, mixing in white instead of black, and painted the raised vines, wiping the lighter tones away from the grooves. I then recreated the first greenish mocha tone and painted over the entire wand lightly one last time to let those highlight and low light tones show through in the end product. This step is important as those different tones will help make it read better from afar. Then again, once that was dried, I painted on some Mod Podge every half an hour for 4 times over the course of a day to give it a wood polished shine. And there we go, 2 more wands to add to our growing repertoire of Harry Potter replica wands. Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger. These wands are incredibly fun and easy to do. They come together quickly over the course of a week or 2, and they're really cheap to make, as multiple wands can be made from the same dowel, paints, and clay. which cost $1, 50 cents, and $9 respectively. On top of the fact that these are possibly the most accurate looking set of props that I've ever made. So definitely expect more of these in the future. Not next month though. Next month I'm going to do another type of build that I've done before, and that I hope I'm able to get out for May 4th, which is Star Wars Day. Yeah, that might give it away, but I only hope that I can finish the build before then. But as for right now, I hope you all liked this video, and if you did and want to see more like it, then subscribe and turn on the bell to get notified when I upload next.